What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Team Fish Knuckles YouTube channel. Today we're doing another state's question and answer with.
I'm Curtis Lyon.
And where are you from?
I'm from Toronto.
Okay.
Uh, it's a place up in Canada.
Oh yeah, just a little bit. So
Way
where
the
did you play
north.
at this last weekend?
I played a pretty interesting deck. I played Toad with a bunch of Jynxes. It's
Hmm.
pretty dope.
So where'd you play at?
I played in Michigan.
And how'd you do there?
So I went 6-1-1 in Swiss.
Hmm.
I ended up tying a Flareon deck. Ended up losing to an Battle deck, and then I ended up winning the whole thing.
Okay, sweet. So you said you lost to an Evotal deck. Like, was it just because you didn't draw any supporters, or because the deck like just beat you down, or what?
So there's sort of a pretty weird flaw in the deck, but the flaw is only exposed if you actually know the deck list. And it actually came about the night before. So the person I lost to was Andrew Estrada, so the world champion. And I tested with him a lot. And so I guess the night before, we were sort of play testing, playing. And I just kept crushing him. And he knows I kept crushing him too. And then we ended up finding out, I guess, a big flaw in the deck, but it's not a flaw you would, I guess, get exposed unless you just see the whole picture.
Hmm.
And so he knew how to beat me. I was drawing cold too, but yeah, I'll get him back.
Okay. So what'd you play against the Swiss just overall?
Round one, I played a mirror match, which kind of sucked. So Toe Jinx on Toe Jinx, that's never fun.
Hmm.
I ended up squeaking that one out, no pun intended. And then I ended up playing Land Batch, which is pretty easy just because Scoop Ups, Jinx, those guys held me down. Round three, I tied with a Flareon. Another local, actually, another Canadian too, and he just ran hot as hell in game two. Just, he had the Empoleon out, three Bangles on the field, two EVs, and a Leafeon with a grass active. So I was just looking at it and I was like, "Phew, this
Ooh.
is gonna be a long game." And I ended up tying. I just couldn't bounce his training stadium for the life of me. Round four, I lost to Andrew. Round five, Flareon again.
Yeah.
Um, just locked him down. Round six was against Night March, which was fun for me, not as fun for my opponent. Round seven was against Toadpluff, and then the last round was against another mirror match. So it was a long day of quaking punching, victory kissing,
Yeah.
and above all, trump carding.
So were those mirror matches like your friends, or just like random people who just happen to play the same deck?
All right, so car ride there, none of us were really too sure what to play.
Uh-huh.
I had this deck built, and I was really convinced it was the play. So by the time we finally got to Michigan, 5 hour drive, everyone still wanted to test and stuff, and I just showed them the deck, and they were like, "Man, this is the truth. This is we need to get on board." So that's why there was a bunch of Canadians playing it too, but they all ended up they had the rough idea of how the deck worked, so they all made their own little changes.
Mhm.
I believed in the list I had, so I ran with it. But they added a bunch of stuff in, which is why there's some discrepancies if you see any other list posted or if anybody, I guess, drops some cards that were in the deck. But I kept my list consistent. I had little to no text, and I guess that's why I won out in the end.
Okay. So what did you play against the top cut?
Yeah, top eight was against a Vettel with Alex Hill. I played against him a bunch of times in Top Cut too, so this was sort of our rubber match.
Okay.
And yeah, that one was close. I got really lucky game one. Um, his Vettel stayed asleep for 2 turns, which is I guess how I crept back into finish the game, and I'll admit it. I'll admit it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then game two, I just locked him down, and that's sort of how that matchup plays out. Is I think they're really dependent on trainers,
Hmm.
and even by the time they load up a really fat Vettel, even if they are able to kill two toads in a row, usually the third's just impossible to kill, and that's sort of how that matchup plays out. And top four was against Kevin Baxter in his Kyogre deck, and going into the match, he beat my close friend in top eight playing an identical list, and we were all convinced it was. Heading into that match, a lot of my friends were like, "Yo, just hurry up, get in there, lose, so we can start hitting the road." Right? I even went in, and then I just sort of set myself up for, I guess, a long drawn out game.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it was really technical. That matchup's not as auto-win as people think. I think Kevin alluded to it in his video too. It's really technical in the sense that he has to wait till I draw out either all my lasers or all my scoop ups,
Hmm.
and that's where the real match sort of unfolds. So game one, he just didn't hit a supporter, and I was able to sort of go through the deck. And game two is really where we had our chess match unfold. The only problem was is that my trump card was prized, and so I was playing really carefully just because my deck I can burn through my deck maybe within like 2 or 3 turns. That's just how efficient the engine was, even without pluffs and whatnot, just
Okay.
because of all the trainers. And I wasn't able to do that because no trump card. And with my deck and rough seas on his end, it's really hard for me to take prizes. So eventually, once he found out the trump card was gone, it was just a long, drawn-out game. And game three sort of played out like game one in the sense that it took him maybe 3 turns to finally get a supporter, but by then I already had enough damage built up on board that I guess I was able to clinch that out.
Yeah.
And then the finals was against the Toad Mirror. And I guess despite what I'm reading online and despite what people think, even though there's, I guess, a gross amount of trainers in the deck, the Toad Mirror is just, it's not fair for them. It's with the Jynx and I guess with the engine intact too. Um, Maybe one game all day. I didn't get the turn one Quaking Punch, or the turn two, I guess, in that case.
Yeah.
And in that mirror match, it actually is better on my end to go second. So he won the coin flip. He got to go first. Game went by pretty faster because of the two Jinx, the Keldeo, and the Toad. And so once that game was done, he also opted to go first again. And then at that point, I knew as long as I just got my ideal setup out, it was going to be a pretty lax game.
Okay. Now you talked about the top four against Kevin. If he had hit a supporter earlier, do you think you still would have won?
So I guess, like I said too, the matchup's pretty close in the sense that he has to hold his resources just as much as I need to hold mine. I think the matchup really does unfold, uh, I guess, once he gets to bounce his stadium or not. So if he can bounce the Verbank fast enough with the rough seas, it's really hard for me. And if I can hit some of my scoop ups in between, then that's a big deal.
Okay.
Also, what the Jinx is, what I was able to do was I was able to bench two. And two is actually more beneficial because his attacks do 150 and 30 to the bench. So benching two Jinx allows me to, I guess, heal one, rush in, go to another one, and heal one so that he can't score the double knockout with a Lysander. That was a pretty cool play I was able to pull off. And that's why the matchup, I think, is a lot closer than people think and why I didn't really give up on the matchup. Game one, I think he's still a lot in a favorable position,
Hmm.
but with the trump card in my deck, I think it becomes a lot more close than I guess people give me credit for. It's hard to say, honestly.
Yeah. I know that Kevin was talking about top eight. His opponent didn't do that play at all, but in top four when he played against you, you did the whole like double heal two Seismitoads, and Kevin was like, "What? No, don't do this!" Like,
Yeah, it was pretty nasty, eh?
yeah. So, what was your favorite matchup to play against?
Uh, so I guess like the Night March matchup, that's not really too fun for them, and on my end, I guess it's not that fun for me too. But the matchup that's really fun is the Flareon one, just because what people don't realize is the Leafeon, if you play it right, it's only ever hitting for 80. Because what I've seen online and what I've seen from the lists that I guess I played against too is people drop their Deoxys, just because I guess because of the Lysander threat and whatnot.
Hmm.
But when you're only doing 80 increments, I can actually just keep my Toad up, let him take a hit, let him take a second hit, and then scoop up at the last second, right? And then that one's really fun. Sort of why we call it let the hate flow deck is just because nothing's more frustrating than attacking something 3 times and not even getting a kill.
Okay, that's true.
And I guess it's a side note too. A lot of people are quick to judge, saying, "Wow, like you hit lucky flips here and there." But with the engine and with trump card, it's not conceivable that you actually play maybe 20 scoop ups or 20 lasers a game. So it's kind of yeah, you'll hit your flips, right? But
Hmm.
that's out of like a series of 20 flips in a game.
All right. So, what would you say is your worst matchup?
Oh, yeah, so this was a calculated metagame call in the sense that I was expecting a lot of Toad Mirror, which there was, and I was expecting a lot of Avedal and Flareon. Those were the 3 decks I sort of anticipated on playing all day, and I guess it panned out in the long run because those were the biggest decks that had a big showing. The decks I really didn't want to see were Groudon and I guess Virgin. Those 2 decks, yeah, they would have bodied me still.
Okay, so how many points you got currently right now?
I think I'm at 350, but I can double check, I guess, once Michigan finally comes up.
So you got it. You got your invite this weekend.
Yeah, I was hoping to get the top eight to get the invite.
Uh huh.
So last round, actually, it was kind of sad, was because I was playing another person from my area, and they also needed a top eight for their invite, and I needed a top eight for our invite. So it was sort of like a win and in sort of matchup both ways: win and get top cut, win and get the invite.
Yeah.
But I have like confidence to get his anyways because he's pretty dope as well.
Well, congratulations on you getting your invite, though.
Thanks, man.
All right. So you're gonna go to any more states?
So there's one this weekend in Indiana. I don't think I'm going to be able to go to. I guess one, it's a long drive. Two, last weekend was kind of tiring.
Hmm.
But I will play in Ontario, which is the local one here. Then I will show up in Montreal the weekend after. For any Americans, Montreal is the party city up here in Canada, so
Okay.
it's been pretty dope too.
All right. So if you were gonna go to next weekend, what would you play?
Well, that's tough. Honestly, so there's a big incoming threat of toads, right? Just because I guess week one had a big showing,
Hmm.
and Groudon had a big showing, and then Kyogre had a big showing. So if you look at all three of those decks and you sort of, um, I guess, look at what beats all of them, it's fairly easy to see Grass is a strong play given the fact that it sort of counters all three. So with that being said, you almost want to look at the metagame in the sense that, am I going to play Grass as well to counter those three? Or am I going to alter those first three decks and maybe make a counter to counter Grass? I haven't given it as much thought as I probably should have, knowing that I'm not going to play this weekend.
Yeah.
But if I was, I would either side with Team Grass, or I would either side with Team try and beat Grass. But it's one of those weird situations where you're going to have to make a calculated metagame call too. And you can easily go 0-7, you can easily go 7-0, depending on, I guess, which side you choose to go on.
Yeah, it's true. It's always weird. It's like a whole circle of life kind of thing.
Exactly.
So you want to talk any more about your regionals or anything?
Yeah, so regionals is pretty cool too.
Hmm.
I guess as people know, that last regionals I went to was kind of controversial for the whole 63 card fiasco and whatnot. But I hold no grudges. Shit happens, right? So
Yeah.
we move on. That one, I felt like I really should have top eighted that day, especially just grinding with fairies all of day one. There are no easy matchups with fairies, right? It's just constant thinking. So I was pooped after day one. Day two rolls by, and I ended up playing Speed Lugia, and we all know what happened. That was the third regionals I went to. The second one I went to, I top I came 17th actually. I didn't top 16. I came 17th. And then the first regionals I went to, I came second with Virgin Dedenne. So that one's
Okay.
pretty cool.
So you're doing
And that
pretty
was
good
my
this
first
season.
tournament back actually. Oh, sorry. So that regionals I went to in Philadelphia was the first tournament I had been to in, I guess, over the course of a year, just because I took last year off, so I only showed up at grinders.
Hmm.
And coming back, it was nice to just, I don't know, get a feel for the game again.
I guess that year break made you really good at Pokemon.
I guess so. We can say that.
Yeah. All right, man. Well, thanks for doing this. Yeah, you want to give any shout outs to anybody or anything?
Oh, do I? There's too many shout outs to name. So,
Too many shout
shout out
outs.
to everyone in Canada.
Uh huh.
Yeah, shout out to Canada. I got you guys. Team Lucario. So Andrew Little E Estrada. Everyone who sees him in the tournament, you better call him Little E. Matthew Koo. BDA Jinger. Jing. Dennis Babuna. You guys are the truth. I want to shout out Team Sheep. So Aziz, Flick of the Wrist Aliami, Big Meese, Tinder Kobayashi, OBO Brit Pie Pass. Those guys hold me down too. And yeah, just shout out to anybody in general. Shout out to the girl who poured my coffee this morning. She was cute. Shout out to everyone at work right now who let me use this meeting room. I feel like a boss right now. Shout out to everyone, man. Shout out to you too, man. You're good at what you do right now, and just keep the love flowing.
All right, man. Thanks so much for doing this, and good luck on your rest of your tournaments.
All right, thanks, buddy.
Alrighty, bye.